Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. I'm your host, Ashley Russo, president and executive producer of The Peak TV. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers who are winners in their field and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success.
Hey everybody, welcome to Unscripted with Russo. I'm Ashley Russo and I am here with such a special guest in our season finale, my dear friend, the famous and amazing Carson Kressley. Carson, thank you for being here.
Hi, of course. We go way back. We are old school.
Old school
we
friends.
have photos of each other.
We
I
do.
have like bleach blonde hair that I dyed myself with peroxide.
But it was fabulous. I have
And
very big curly hair.
Ashley had like kind of like a permed bob and pink Converse All-Stars high tops.
Oh my gosh,
And,
I can't believe you remember
yeah,
that.
I have a photo of
Okay.
you giving me a
I think we're gonna have to
ribbon
give that photo for this,
at the
for our
Jersey
viewers.
Classic Horse Show. Yeah, I will take a snap of it. And it was circa 1987. We
Those
were both
were the
junior
days.
exhibitors. Those were the
Yes.
days.
So it's so fabulous to have you here. We're here at the Devon Horse Show. We are so grateful to the American Saddlebred Horse Association and the USEF for helping us get the word out about our amazing American Saddlebred horses.
Yeah, of course.
But before the horses,
Right.
tell people a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? What was your family like?
Okay, so I grew up very close to here. And it's fun to be back here because the Devon Horse Show is a place that I think both of us
Grew up.
remember so fondly. We grew up here, and like yesterday we literally went on the Ferris wheel to like do a shot, like a fun photo. And we're like, we haven't been on this since like we were like 11 and we went to Hershey Park. And
we realized it was much scarier,
it was scarier than
30
we thought.
years later.
But I digress. I'm from outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and it's almost Amish. You can hear people churning butter in the distance, I swear.
So horse country.
And it was very horsey. And my grandparents were in the Shetland pony business. So when I grew up, it was the 70s, and that heyday had kind of happened. But we still had 200 ponies at home. So I could hop a
200?
fence. Yeah, 200.
That's incredible.
I could hop the fence right next to my house and literally go out and like pick a pony and like ride it. And
You
that
know, my
was
first pony was a Shetland pony.
It was.
Yes, her
They're
name
the
was
best.
Candy Cane.
They're-
And she had
they-
a big fuzzy white mane, and I rode her hunt seat, and I was 3. And she was fabulous.
Yeah, so ponies are where like a lot of us got our start. So they also had Hackney ponies and showed them in roadsters and had some pretty nice ones. A nice one named Yankee Doodle, Kressley's Imperial.
And you were actually breeding them.
And my grandmother was breeding them. My
Okay.
grandmother grew up on a farm and they had work horses, and it was like the 1920s or something. So when she grew up and was married and they had some extra money, she was like, I want a pony. So I think she bought one for my dad in like the 50s, and he was like,
probably super cute. And then,
no thanks. But she had one, which turned into 2, which turned into 4, which turned into 8, which turned into 200.
200, yeah.
So they had, in the 1960s, before I was born, they had production sales and like tents, and little kids were dressed in cowboy outfits. It was very idyllic. It was like Mayberry, USA. And they would auction off the ponies like years ago, like at Tattersall's or like a Calorama dispersals, production sale. So that's how I grew up. But we would come to places like Devon with our Hackney road ponies, and even some Shetland road ponies back then, and Welsh road ponies because it was old school. And that's fun till you're about 12, and I was like, can I get one of those?
you were seeing all the other fabulous
And
horses.
I saw saddlebreds, and I saw the tails were up, and I saw, people were wearing top hats, and their feet were shiny, and they were gorgeous, and they were like the supermodels of the show ring, and I literally was like, I want that.
That's how you got started? You literally just said, I'm interested in these
Yeah.
fabulous animals?
And my grandparents, like, we cannot afford that, like, all the usual things. So when I was like 13, I had like newspaper route money or something, and I had like, I think it was like $1,200, and I bought my first saddlebred.
You did?
And it included the saddle. And his name
a
was
good deal.
Daddy's Money, and I got him from Brent Jacobs in Kentucky, and I thought that was like,
That's pretty fabulous.
that was major. Like,
How many
we didn't
kids
even,
do you think can say they bought their first horse? I mean, that's pretty great.
Maybe not that many. And we did it ourselves, and we would give him a bath in our backyard, and he would get loose and run around the backyard, and I was like, oh my God, we're all gonna die. And my sister, who's showing here tonight, she's 6 years older than me, so she was kind of like the adult. And my parents had absolutely no interest in horses, just my grandparents and me and my sister. So we started doing the saddlebreds kind of on our own.
Now, was Diana equally as interested? Because you were interested, or did she get involved because she thought, I need to like take care of Carson?
No, she was really the one who wanted a saddlebred, but I actually beat her to the punch and got one first, and then she was like...
Did you let her ride it?
Yes, and then she literally got one like 2 weeks later. And
I always remember the two of you being at the shows together and running around, your blonde hair, and Diana kind of was like the big sister to all of us.
Yeah, and we would go to places like, and you were there with Iron Horse Farm, which was amazing, and that was like, we were like, like little sport model in Sir Talmadge. I can name your entire string.
That's
but
so
that was
funny.
like the big time. But we would go to places like Devon. Sussex County, New Jersey was unbelievable.
Quentin, we used to go to Quentin
was
all
amazing.
The time.
The Jersey Classic in Jamesburg, New Jersey. Eastern States was like going to Louisville.
Right,
kind
you were
of.
super far. It was only 4 hours, but for us it might as well have been across the country.
And then I eventually just, got better and better horses and learned how to ride better. Like when you had Little Sport Model, I had a Bay 3-gated horse named I've Got It, and he literally did not canter.
Not have it?
And he did not have it. And when you would ask him to canter, he would just stand up on his hind legs. And I just remember mountains of traffic behind me going, stay away from him. So I was scarred with canterphobia for a long time.
It gets you a little bit.
But
we had a lot of fun. I mean, the thing people have to understand is this was not just about the horses.
It was.
We were there. We were raising money for things. We were going on little field trips to Hershey Park and the fair here and kind of giving back to the community.
It was
a great time.
I think it was maybe less expensive and less stressful and more family fun oriented.
Yeah. Remember we used to do things like just take whatever horse was around and dress it up and go in whatever little extra class they had and silly stuff.
Yeah, it was really fun. So hopefully we can kind of recapture that now that we're old.
Yeah, we're still trying to bring the fun.
But that's how I got started in saddlebreds.
Besides the horses, what else were you like as a kid? Like, were you academic? Was there something you liked? Did you do did you play music?
I have to say, by the time I was like a teenager, I was fully obsessed with saddle horses. And I remember, we would road trip to Lexington every summer. I made my parents take me to Louisville for summer vacation. They're like, we're going to the Kentucky State Fair. We're driving from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I'm like, it's going to be amazing. I was like 15.
But they bought into it, right? I mean,
they were
really
very supportive.
Yeah.
They still don't understand it. They're like, you do what? But they love it, and they know that I've been doing it for so long.
What do you think it is for people who are not horse people? They sort of always say, oh, horses, like, why is it? And what do you feel you, like, really gravitated towards? So what did you love about the American Saddlebred in particular and just the experience? Because you're not just showing. You enjoy your horses at home.
Yeah,
you like trail riding.
I do.
Yeah.
I was certainly drawn to the show horse aspect of it, and I think growing up with ponies around, and then you see a horse that's big and beautiful and so striking, I think it was the look. They just are so gorgeous.
I like how you said they're the supermodels of the horse world.
Really
I think that's a great description.
They really are. And I've been around lots of other breeds. My niece has a whole string of like barrel racing horses right now. They're all lovely.
We've got coaching horses behind us right now, which is amazing.
I will do that in my old age because that looks super fun and you get to dress up. But once you've been around a saddlebred, I think you're kind of spoiled. Like I said, I'm around a lot of different breeds, from Friesians to Morgans to whatever. It's still never as good as a saddlebred.
Especially that gated horse feel, right, when you get on.
Yeah, I mean, with the head up here and looking through a set of, like, pointy ears, there's nothing like it.
Do you feel like, and I don't want to skip over college or anything like that, but do you feel like the experience of, we both grew up in this show horse industry, and we're both sort of in media and TV, and it's showy.
It was invaluable.
Yeah.
And the reason why... I parlayed like being into horses into I first worked for the American Horse Shows Association when that's what it was called. And a friend of mine, Lori Drews, hey girl, was having a baby. She's like, you should take my job. I'm like, is it in New York City? And she's like, yes. And my office was at American Horse Shows, 220 East 42nd Street in New York City.
Great location.
I would take the bus in from Allentown, and I was like Peggy Sawyer from 42nd Street. I didn't even know which way. I was like, which way is east? And it was back when, like, 42nd Street was dodgy.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly the same time.
I was like, what's a peep show? And now it's gotten much better. And I've lived in New York City for 26 years. So having that job got me to New York City, and that was all because I showed horses, and I knew everything about saddle horses and Morgans and saddle seat breeds. And then after doing that for 3 or 4 years, it's a nonprofit job. I was just like, I would like to buy some shoes now. Like, I need some money.
And you liked fashion.
And I liked fashion, and I always loved Ralph Lauren, and it's always been my jam, and I love the culture and the attitude of the brand. And I met a headhunter at my gym, and she's like, you should work at Ralph Lauren. I was like, I should. And I went in 2 days later. I had an interview. I dressed the part. I understood the culture. And I got a job as Jerry Lauren's assistant. That is Ralph Lauren's brother.
Incredible.
And I had a great education from Gettysburg College.
I was going to ask you, what did you study at Gettysburg?
I have a degree in business and also a degree in fine art history.
Wonderful. I didn't know
not
about
super
the fine
useful.
Art. Well, that's okay. It gives you an appreciation
but it was a good
for beautiful
balance.
things.
It was a good balance. And I do love creating, and I did some amazing sculpture, and I can make a piece of jewelry, so that's great. And I studied business, so I loved marketing more than like finance or accounting. And with that, I just worked at Ralph Lauren, and so many people there just really learned on the job.
What did you learn in that first job? I think back a lot lately, and I guess maybe you get to a certain age where you start thinking back, which is weird and scary, to some of the things I learned in those first jobs. And now that I'm employing young people, I really try to think about that a lot. So what did you learn that you're kind of hoping to infuse?
Ralph Lauren especially was such a great education for me. I think the number one thing I learned there, and it's something I'd never encountered before, was urgency. Like, we've got to get this done. We've got to get it done now. Like, it's like that sense of like there is limited time. We're on a deadline. We've got to coordinate everybody, have synergy, and get it done. That's something, there was never a moment where we were just like, oh, what should we do today? We were hustling. So I think a sense of urgency, and then figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's like television production or like showing a horse or designing a garment or doing an ad campaign or putting on a fashion show, someone's probably not going to tell you how to do it. And you just have to be industrious and say, okay,
I know.
I'm going to get this done, and I'll try to ask questions.
Do you feel like the horses help with that, though? Because I was thinking today how many times we both have had similar times with Randy and Danessa Harper.
Right, yes.
And I can think of times of them saying to me, especially Randy, well, go in there and do what you're supposed to do.
Right,
I
just
was like,
do it.
10. Okay.
Yes.
But I feel like that gives you a little grit to be a good problem solver and to get the job done.
Absolutely. And that part of showing horses, like, anything can go wrong, and like you have to be on the fly.
It's
like,
an animal. It's
sometimes your pants split as you're getting on. I now only wear black underwear when I show.
Because nobody, you don't want to deal with that.
You don't want to see a big white piece of underwear flapping in the breeze. So you learn to be resourceful. You learn to go with the flow. I feel like showing horses and showbiz are very similar.
Yeah. It gives you a comfort also in your own skin and putting on a little bit of a performance.
And confidence.
Yeah.
And, I tell people that have kids all the time, like, it is the greatest thing. You're literally out on a stage and you're working with a partner and you're communicating with your trainer and your coach and your mount. It's a lot of great lessons for a young kid to learn.
Absolutely.
And then for me professionally, because I did this, and I was not like from a wealthy family or very worldly, this brought the world to me. I got to meet people from all over, like Elizabeth Goff, like my college graduation present. I did not go to spring break. I begged my parents to send me and my sister, this is so sad, it's like an after school special, to go to the Hollywood Charity Horse Show. Because I wanted to go to California. And I saw it in the magazines. And when I got there, I saw Elizabeth Goff, and she was like getting into her Bentley with Mitchell Clark. And I was like, oh my God, like mind blown. But because of all these experiences and being able to talk to people who I thought were like gods and goddesses, like Elizabeth or Sally Wheeler,
it expands
or
your
like
horizons.
your mom or something. You talk to all these people, and you're just like, I can kind of talk to anybody, and I can kind of like be in any setting. So when it came time to like try out for Queer Eye or to do like the Tonight Show, I was like, we went there the first time, and the other guys were like petrified. I was like, no, I know Jay Leno. His manager's daughter rode with me, Sarah Kushnick. And Adolph Zell, who won the Triple Crown, was on the Tonight Show. So it's going to be fine. I already have like
if he could
an
do
entree
it, yeah, exactly.
to like an icebreaker.
I love it.
The horses have been invaluable in like making me a confident person, able to kind of like navigate anywhere. So
tell me about how you went from Ralph Lauren to Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which, by the way, I just read was the first season was 15 years ago. Is that true?
It was 16 years ago.
Time is flying.
I know we look so young.
I know. We haven't changed at all. In fact, I think we look better.
No, we haven't. We do.
When we put some pictures on the YouTube
I have
version
a new
of
nose,
this, people will see.
I've been working on it. It was 16 years ago. I was working at Ralph Lauren. I had a fantastic job. I had worked my way up, and I was a creative director, and I was doing all the ads. So Bruce Weber was shooting them. We had amazing models. We had puppies and horses and mansions, and I was like, this is great. And I was traveling all over.
And when you're traveling, I was going to say you were traveling everywhere.
Yeah, and we would shoot, we needed snow in summer, so we'd go to like Patagonia, or Neiman Marcus wanted it to look very like Bride's Head Revisited, so we were going to the Isle of Wight. I don't even know where that is. It's a British isle
But
somewhere.
you went.
But we went. So I had a great job that I loved, and one of our producers who books photographers and models said, I heard about this show. It's called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. It's going to be on Bravo. I was like, what's Bravo, a non-stick cooking spray? Like, we didn't know what Bravo was then. And I just went. We were doing a photo shoot that day. I had my hair done. I had a little bronzer put on. I wore a silk shirt with stirrups all over it, cream silk pants, amazing shoes. They're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to the dentist. And like that? I was like, yes, he's Park Avenue. You can't look shabby. And but I really went to an interview about the show.
What did you know about the show going into it?
I knew nothing.
Okay.
And they showed us a video of like a guy, and they said, what would you do? And everybody was like, I think it's really important to bridge the gap between gay and straight. And I was just like, can we get rid of the mullet and the pleated khakis and like get on with life? And they're like, okay, you're sassy. And I think. Did
you have a plan going into it, or you just thought, I'm just going to put it on the table?
I've never had a plan.
Yeah,
I've never had a plan for anything. And, but they said, we're going to hire you. We're going to do a pilot. That was in 2002. We went to Boston. We made a pilot. I told my boss, I was like, I'll be back in 3 days. Nothing's going to happen. A year went by. They called up and said, we just got picked up. Can you quit your job? I was like, do you have dental insurance? And they're like, no. I was like, ooh, I don't know.
Like, where is this going?
But I had the best boss who said, listen, you should do it. And if it doesn't work out, we'll just hire you back. And
well,
I was
that's
like,
an amazing security policy.
Okay. So I quit my job, which I loved and was great, and I was rocking and rolling in New York City, to do 8 episodes for like $3,000 an episode. I'm like, wait, that's way less than what I make in a year. And not knowing if I'd have a job after that, but it was a big hit. And
you shot in Boston.
We filmed it all in New York City. We made the pilot in Boston. Filmed the first season in New York. It aired July 23rd, 2003.
What's the first day when you show up on that set and you've never really done TV? What's that first day like for you?
The reason why it was successful, I think, is because none of us had done TV, and we weren't aware of cameras, and we weren't thinking, we're going to be famous.
You just
did it. And we had no context. We were just busy trying to make this guy look better or trying to get this apartment done in 3 days. So I really think having no experience, no expectations, and not being self-aware made it really successful.
That's so great. What an amazing time. And do you think back a little bit to that original cast? And, of course, you're back now with Tom.
Yes.
And what was that chemistry like? And do you think that was so key to the success of the
chemistry,
show?
Yeah, the chemistry was key. And it was just, people just always say, what was the key to that? I think it was authenticity. Like, we were just all like 5 friends. We were all kind of experts in the fields in which we were working. And we were just doing a job, and we were just trying to do it with excellence. And that was something, again, like going back to life lessons that I learned at Ralph Lauren. Like, there is no, like, half-assing it. Like,
you got to just go all in and do it.
And it's got to be, like, up
the
here.
Best. Thank you for saying that, because I say this all the time.
Right.
And I think sometimes people think I'm nuts, but I'm like, no, you've got to, if you can be great, be great.
No, it's always got to be, and I think that's the thing.
Good enough is not good enough.
Also with horses, like, there's always somebody out there that's going to be a little bit better than you.
I love that.
And I grew up being scrappy because, like, I didn't have a great horse, so we were, like, braiding its tail, and, like, I was.
How can we make it a little extra fancy?
I was sanding its feet with, like, an electric sander, and I'm like,
electric.
I think that's really bad.
That's fancy, though.
And I was spraying them with
sandpaper.
Krylon acrylic, and I made
so much
like
Aquanet.
a vest overnight. I was like, I need a new vest, and I bought fabric and I sewed it by hand.
Did
and
you
made
really?
It. Yeah, I was
now, I never made anything. I never made any of my
industrious.
show clothes.
We would go to La Cheval, remember?
Of course, Whitey.
On Broadway, go to see Whitey Khan.
Yeah.
And I would get it, but I was like, I need something new, and I need it now. And I literally just whipped up a new vest. They're very easy to make.
Don't be fooled.
So yeah, that was the thing with the show. And then like it was on the air for like a season, and the next year we had a primetime Emmy. And I always told people like, is this like a dream come true? And I'm like, no, because I didn't dream it. Like I dreamed about a victory pass at Louisville. That's what I dreamed about, and that hadn't happened at that point.
So you still had a dream.
And I was like, could I have my dream? But the Emmy was wonderful. And then a couple years later, I got my Louisville blue ribbon. So that was
And in the
also
background, as this is happening, you're still keeping the horses in your life. The family farm is still active.
Yeah, I have
What's
a
going
farm
on?
outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania. My sister and I own it together. It was my grandparents. They gave it to us. And we raise about usually 2 saddlebreds a year. More than that, it gets like when you have two babies in training at a time, I'm just like, I can't. And then usually 1 or 2 show horses. My niece, Morgan Billig, I got to like live out my childhood fantasy and buy her really amazing horses
And
when
she's
she was
a
a kid.
phenomenal equestrian.
And she was a great jockey, and she really loves it. And she's had some really, also not easy, like,
yeah, she could get
I've
on
had
a tough
some
horse.
hair-raising experiences on her horses, and I was like, what, you wrote this?
It's amazing.
But that's the other great thing also about saddlebreds, and I think more than any other breed. My sister does it, my grandparents did it, my niece does it, I do it.
It is a family affair. It's funny, doing the broadcast for the USEF here, we're often talking about who's coming in the ring.
Right.
And almost every class, we're talking about someone that has been in this business. You know, we're talking about, you know, Kate and Lynn Harvey, Cody Ann, and Molly. We're talking about the Garones.
4 generations.
We're talking, you know, it's just an amazing thing. And it brings people together. People always say, wow, you take all this time.
Right.
You know, you're busy with work, and you take this time to the horse. I said, you have to understand, this is time with my mother and my daughter that's so valuable and so special comparatively to what other people do with their family members. And it's wonderful. It really is a great thing.
It's a really bonding experience, and you have these great memories of like going whitewater rafting in Asheville. Like I would never do that like with my family. We would all be on a different page, but it was at a horse show. We had
You're all together anyway.
We did it.
Yeah.
And I had a friend visiting. I did the hat contest on Wednesday. And a college friend of mine from Gettysburg came to visit and stayed at my farm. And we were walking around, and we were at Randy and Danessa's, and then the horse showed, and then we saw the Wheelers leaving, and she's like, wow, this is so cool that you know everybody here. And I was like, I've known all these people since I was 15 years old.
Do you feel a little bit, and I want to talk about your trajectory after Queer Eye and sort of the path your career has taken, but of course you are pretty well known now.
Right.
Do you feel some sort of solace or comfort in the horse world where it's people who knew you before you were famous?
Yeah,
Does that matter now? Does that have more?
I think that anybody, and I'm not like a hugely famous. No, please, no. Sit down.
Stop.
I'm not a hugely famous person, but sometimes it is a little weird, and I think
I
anybody.
would beg to differ because I've been here with you for a few days at Devon, and I have to say, just trying to walk somewhere, you are so gracious. You stop for everyone, and everyone says their mother, their son, their brother wants to have seen you or take a picture with you.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's, and I would say, having known you for 30-some years,
right.
It's more so for sure in the last few years than it was when Queer Eye came out. But when you come to horse shows,
I would liken it to just going back to your hometown.
Yeah.
And when you're in your hometown, people are like, oh, hey. They
hey,
don't care.
Carson.
Like, people will see me, like, at the grocery store, like, by my farm, and they're like, hi. Like, they're not impressed. And it's the same here, which it's not that they're not impressed, but it's just like, people are like, wow, everyone's, like, just normal. I'm like, I've known them since I was 15. Like, they're just, you know, they're more impressed, I think, by the fact that I've stuck around this long than by any, like, fame.
And you're very good to the business. You give back a lot. You give a lot of time.
I try,
you MC things. You raise money for the Saddlebred Museum. You help the American Saddlebred Horse Association with all this social media.
I'm not super rich or anything, so I'm not, like, giving, like, buildings and, like, wings, but
you give up your time a lot, though.
And I have, like, a great platform that I can leverage, and it's so easy for me. And, you know, I'll do a show, and they said, we're going to donate your prize money from this game show to a charity. I'm like, can we give it to the American Saddlebred Museum? Like, That's so easy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Or this year I did curated a gift page for People magazine. I was like, oh, I'm going to feature a lot of gifts from the American Saddlebred Museum because A, I love them, and B, this is something that is really amazing and hard to get, and I'm going to use this special free pass
for something you
to
love.
help my tribe.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's what you do. You want to help your family.
I love that. And people really value that. What has happened in those 15 years in your fame? What are some of your favorite moments? Some project you've worked on that you really loved and just kind of stuck out? You've done a few movies.
Yeah.
You did a few.
I loved making movies.
Yeah.
I just did a new Hallmark holiday one. I did a holiday one a couple years ago, and I got to do a fainting scene, which do you want a stunt man? I was like, no, I want to do this. And my eyes rolled back in my head, and I went like that, and it was genius. I did it with Carrie Fisher before she passed away, so that was who gets to do that.
How cool is that to say you work with Carrie Fisher?
Right. I got to host the Flame-worthy Awards for CMT 10 years ago with Dolly Parton, who I grew up idolizing, so bucket list.
That had to be amazing.
And then doing fun things like going to the Melbourne Cup in Australia, which is the Kentucky Derby, but even beyond. They really do it well. Being able to show horses like a Louisville Blue Ribbon on a gaited horse is a pretty unbelievable thing. Doing my show again with Tom Felicia, I have so much fun doing it.
It's amazing. You picked now second season, correct?
We're not sure.
You're not sure, okay.
But reunited with my Queer Eye buddies.
I feel like it's good because, it's been very well received.
And
it's just people are loving it and talking about it everywhere.
And I love doing interiors.
Yes.
I love clothing, but I've always really loved interiors. And even though we had this family farm here in Pennsylvania, I bought another house that was next to it that I kind of had always dreamed of living in. I saw it go up, and I was like, I want to live in that house one day. And it seemed very fancy to me. And
you've redone it in a beautiful way.
I have, yeah. And that was really fun. So that was really how I cut my teeth on interior design. And I made a lot of stupid mistakes and expensive ones, but it was really fun. So I love that, and I hope to do more of those.
So what is next for Carson Kressley? What can we expect to see from you professionally, horse-wise?
Right. This is really fun. I was very lucky to be part of Queer Eye because it was a groundbreaking show in many ways, and still young people, people in their 20s and 30s will come up to me and say, oh my God, I watched your show with my family. I didn't know how to broach the subject of my coming out with them, and my family loved you and laughed and thought you were so great, and it gave me the confidence and security to come out and have a conversation with my family, and it made my life so much easier.
Oh my gosh!
So
what
thank you. And I'm on an airplane reading it on a napkin, and I'm
that's
crying.
Amazing though.
So,
what impact?
That's great. And then where I'm going with this is that now I get to work on a show called RuPaul's Drag Race, which seems insane. And my 80-year-old dad thinks it's like a drag racing car show from India. It's like RuPaul Drag Race? What is that? He thinks the contestants are real women. And I'm like, I'm not going to burst that bubble for you.
You did look pretty fabulous the other night.
I did, and I got a shout out from Deborah Messing on Instagram, and I'm like, but I get to be a part of RuPaul's Drag Race, which again is one of those shows that has had an impact on the culture, and it allows people who feel like maybe they never fit in or were a bit of an oddball or not really mainstream to be celebrated. And so many people come to these conventions for the show, and it's families and little kids, and everybody's just being themselves and having a great time. So we won an Emmy for that show. So Queer Eye won for Best Non-Competitive Reality Program in 2006, I think. And RuPaul's Drag Race won in 2018 for Best Competition Reality. So to bookend those two awards in both the reality categories is it's like winning the gaited stake and the walk trot stake and maybe the fine harness stake altogether.
I love it.
I'm very lucky to be involved in two really impactful shows. So I'm going to go back to LA, film another couple seasons of that, and then hopefully do some more interior design shows, and then hopefully find some time to go to Lexington and Louisville. I like to float around in my pool here at the farm. I'm always going between New York, LA, New York, LA, New York, LA. I was at my farm today, cleaning out my gutters and washing my car and blowing up my pool floaties. I'm like, this is heaven.
So more time at the farm.
So tomorrow I'm going to ride.
Awesome.
I have a couple horses that I raised that did not want to be show horses.
But
so
they're
at home and I ride them, and There's also nothing more elegant than an American saddlebred trail horse. Like, my horse is shiny and gorgeous, and his head's up there, and he's very good.
And they treat
on
the
trail.
trail as if it's a very special place also. Like, they're very grand and into it regardless.
They love it, and they're very comfortable. That is what the American saddlebred was kind of designed for originally, was a comfortable, classy ride to survey a lot of land. So it's all good. I'm very lucky.
Living the dream.
I'm living my best life.
Well, you've always been yourself, and we're so lucky to have you. I'm so grateful to call you a friend. But before you go, we do something fun on this podcast.
Okay, what is it?
We do a little question-answer. Are you ready?
I have no prior knowledge of this contest.
That is
yes,
true.
I'm ready.
If you could have dinner with any one or two or three people, living or deceased, who would they be?
Right. I think Tom and Donna Moore would be amazing. There's a lady that was really instrumental in this horse show named Hope Montgomery Scott, and I just read an amazing book called The Beneficiary, kind of about her family, to kind of get in the vibe for Devon. So she would be amazing. Carol Burnett, who I adore. And maybe like some old-fashioned interior designer like Dorothy Draper. There's so many people.
I know, it's
hard
to make a short list.
And you can't really think of, like, people are like Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, I'm not that into politics, but sure.
All right, if you could go somewhere in the world you've never been, and you've been a lot of places, where would you want to go?
I have never been to Spain, which is insane.
What? Oh my gosh,
I've been all over
that's
the world.
criminal.
So I need to go there, and I also want to go to Argentina.
Also, I've been there too. I can't believe I've been 2 places you have not been. What's the best place you've ever been? Favorite place in the world?
I love Australia.
Okay, I have
love
not
the
been
climate.
there.
I love the people. I love the beaches. I love the food. So yeah, it's really great.
One horse saddlebred that you would love to ride.
That's
Past or
currently
present.
alive.
Or either. Past or present. Favorite
Imperator.
Great one.
Or
so
Skywatch.
I was going to just ask you, were you in the Imperator or the Skywatch category? Well, either would be
I've ridden some amazing, I've ridden According to Lynn. I've ridden Casey's Final Countdown. I've ridden Tango's Token Kiss. I've ridden some great ones, but I feel like you can't do better than Imperator or Skywatch.
Wonderful.
Those were the days.
All right. What is one thing you want to accomplish you haven't accomplished yet?
I would love to do a daytime lifestyle talk show.
I just said I feel my prediction for you is that the next thing is a daytime talk show. I feel like that's where you need to be.
I like teaching people. Like, I want to do like Martha Stewart, but like more fun.
Things. I love it. Well, I hope that for you.
Your words to God's ears.
Please. Well, I'm wishing it. I'm putting it out into the universe for you, Carson. Carson Kressley.
Or, wait, I also have a saddlebred thing I would love to accomplish. I've won the Amateur Gentleman's 5-gated stake at Louisville. I've been second in the Walk Trot stake and second in the Fine Harness stake. I would love to win those other two. I don't need to win the big stake. I don't need to win the amateur stake.
You're okay.
I just want to get all 3 of the gentlemen's. So maybe this year.
All right, so talk show, 3-gated, Fine Harness. Things are getting exciting around here at Devon.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have to sign off, but Carson Kressley, you are a wonderful friend.
You are.
Great guy. Get a room. You've got a few
Keep your
books
fingers
out there.
crossed. Yeah, I
Fingers
do.
crossed.
I do.
Talk about your book.
And I have 4 books.
I know. It's
the last one is called Does This Book Make My Butt Look Big? It's a women's style guide. You can get it on Amazon.
I love it so much.
There's a great kids book called You're Different and That's Super, which is a horse person named Jared Lee that I knew from the pony world, illustrated it. And it's really about, like, sometimes the thing that makes you different and you think is something that's icky, it can actually be something to be celebrated. And I have a men's style guide. And I actually want to do a design book based on equestrian style, like equestrian interiors. And I know it's been done, but I would love to do, like, travel to friends' homes that are very horsey and just kind of feature those interiors. Or places like this. There's a great new book on Wellington. There needs to be one on Devon. So maybe I need to do that.
Maybe you should be the one to do it.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll check back with you. Maybe see what happens next year. Thank you, Carson, so much for being here.
You are so welcome.
You guys have been watching and listening to Unscripted with Russo. Until next time.